Welcome to a somewhat special edition here of the BlokeBusters podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Paul.
We're tentatively calling this Film for Thought. These are going to be a little shorter running times, kind of various topics, just whatever kind of strikes our minds, whatever we feel like talking about for just a little bit.
Yeah.
And so just with that in mind, get this going. This particular one, the topic is films that you really, really loved in your childhood, and despite the nostalgia factor, not weighing that in, have not held up to today's standards or your standards, things along those lines. So not like, Goonies for me would be an example of a film that holds up for me because of the nostalgia.
Right. The ones that
this could not even be saved by nostalgia.
The ones you realize upon second viewing when you're older, it's like, what was I thinking?
Yes. All right. So without further ado, Paul, let's get going with your first one.
All right. I think I'll do the less shocker one first. Godzilla, the 1998.
The 1933? Oh. The black and white does not hold up. Fair enough.
I think that holds up better than this.
Probably.
Yes, that's a lot of fish. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, this film, when I first saw it, it was great. Like, giant monster. Yeah, it was 5 years after Jurassic Park came out. It was kind of like another dinosaur film. This is even something like when the Godzilla film came out. Was it last year or the year before? That we did
2013, I believe.
I think the people that made that came out on the record saying that the previous Godzilla was not Godzilla. It was a Zilla because it couldn't even be classified as Godzilla.
No, not a god. It was a demi-Godzilla.
It was the Hercules of that time.
That's mortal.
It does not hold up. I mean, it didn't even really hold up.
I've never seen the film, so I can't speak to it.
It didn't really hold up at the time anyway. There were so many people that were making fun of it. But I think I was just at that right time in my life. It was enjoyable enough, and it was fun to see.
And I think this film is probably... Sorry, go ahead.
No, perfect. I'll just say it was fun to see. Then I wasn't that knowledgeable about Godzilla, and it was just, this is kind of big monster destroying the city type thing. And then upon rewatching it when I was older, it was like, wow, there's nothing here. It's paper thin. This thing.
Yeah. And I think what I was alluding to is that you could be granted a pardon on this one, because I think this film was a perfect representation of our age difference in that this film hit when I was a little more wiser through my adolescence.
Yeah, I was 11.
Exactly, which, you eat up anything you can get when you're 11, cinema-wise. And I would be about 16 or so. I was like, I can avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing, like, I was considering putting Inspector Gadget on the film, another Matthew Broderick, but then thinking about it, I was like, I didn't really like it that much when I saw it the first time, so... it's still awful. So,
and poor Jean Reno, who is an amazing French actor.
He's good in it.
Yeah.
He is actually good in it.
He's good in everything.
Yeah.
Leon's, it's called Leon, by the way, not Professional, is like one of the greatest movies. So yeah, poor him.
But I mean, this is one of those things that if you never saw it growing up, don't bother. Really don't. It's more of a waste of time than anything else at this point.
Would you recommend the most recent Godzilla over it? Because I think that's...
Yes.
Yeah. Barely.
But
2 hours 19 for this. Holy shite.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that I would recommend...
Is there more Godzilla in 98 Godzilla than... 2013 Godzilla or 14, whatever? Okay.
Yes. I mean, okay.
So it has that.
There is more monster.
More monster, yes. More Zilla. Okay, whatever you want to call it. All right, so I guess avoid that.
Yes, please do.
My first is a little film from 1987 called The Monster Squad. Are you familiar with this, Paul?
I've heard of it, but I have not watched it.
Okay. Reading from a popular website, a young group of monster fanatics attempts to save their hometown from Count Dracula and his army of monsters. Oh, the wackiness ensues. So it's like all of the Universal monster movie guys.
Yeah.
You know, like Swamp Thing and Wolfman and Frankenstein, even though it's Frankenstein's monster, not Frankenstein. But, you know.
Not that we're bitter about that.
Yes, no. But Tom Noonan is absolutely amazing. I'll show Paul a picture of Tom Noonan. You know who Tom Noonan is.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Amazing character actor. Look him up. He's awesome. Wow, I can't believe I ever liked this movie. I'm really gonna make a friend mad because this is like this is his Goonies, where you know, like where he cannot separate that nostalgia out.
So Lost Boys, it ain't. Is what you're saying.
No, this is just an utter dog pile of just horrible acting, plot thinner than tissue paper, just. All around, I mean, even for '87, horrible effects.
Right.
Like, it's so unbelievably bad. Tom Noonan's the only redeemable, I think, part. And there's like scary German guy. People know who I'm talking about when I say that. It's kind of fun. But man, I can't think who this would appeal to other than like 8 and 9 year olds.
Right.
It's just I don't know what else to say. I bought like the Blu-ray box set. This is how I discovered this, like 3 or 4 whenever they had their anniversary, and I got like 20 minutes in. I'm like, whoo! Checking the runtime. Maybe I should skip to the special features.
You mean that thing that you're watching it and you're like, oh, it must be an hour in 20 minutes. What?
This is just past the first reel? Oh my god. Yeah. There's just nothing I can take from this movie anymore. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about the Monster Squad. And once again, if you didn't love it as a child, no point revisiting it or visiting it now.
Right.
Or revisiting it for that matter. Keep the love of it. If you saw it once and you love it, keep it there. Keep it there in your heart. Don't recheck it because the thin veneer of that will be shattered.
All right. Okay.
What else do you have?
All right. My second one is one that, I'll be honest, even though I know it's a terrible film, I would still rewatch it anyway.
Oh my lord.
It is Wild Wild West.
And I will let you say your piece.
Yes, okay.
I will try to bite the inside of my tree.
All right, okay.
Go now.
So, obviously, for those of you that don't know, this is Will Smith and Kevin Kline. Will Smith being a fast-talking, like, sheriff back in a time where black people were slaves, and they're fighting against this guy who is trying to basically take over the presidency or something. I don't even remember. And he's a steampunk guy at one point. He has a giant metal spider that walks all over the country, and it's ridiculousness, and I can't necessarily fault the acting, so I'm going to fault the writing. It's just bad.
I think you can fault the acting.
Well, it's Will Smith being Will Smith, so it's one of the. I think it's when he was like really starting to go down serious stuff. This is just him being, I'm wacky, I'm over the top, and then you got Kevin Kline, who is kind of the straight man, and he's not bad, but he's not exactly great, and the rest of the people are just forgettable. Salma Hayek is in it specifically because she wears some underwear at some point.
And then there's like something about like a mechanized spider.
Yes,
something?
giant mechanized spider.
Yeah.
Which, if you are
see the whole tone.
If you are at all interested, watch online. I'm sure it's on YouTube and anywhere. Kevin Smith talking about when he was originally going to write the Superman film. He met with a director who said, okay, we don't want him to fly. I don't want him to wear the cape. And in the third act, he has to fight a giant spider. And then that director got fired from that film and went on to make a little film known as Wild Wild West.
Yes. So, go take those crazy ideas somewhere else. And that he did. Yeah.
So, it's one of those films that when I watched it when I was younger, I was like, hey, this is great. Again, I was, 11, 12. It was giant metal spider in the West. Crazy things going on. Whatever. I was fine with it. And then visiting it when I was older, I was like, okay, the nostalgia is there. But this film is shit. There is no saving grace for the film. But even so, I'm still fine with it. But I will say, anyone that has never watched it, don't. Again.
To be fair, or somewhat fair, I've not seen the entire film.
Okay.
But I think I may not be alone in there.
Yeah.
With people that have seen parts.
At what point did you not catch any more of it?
No, I just cut in and out of it. Like, it was on TV, and it was that, and then something else on, switch back in between commercials, and then at some point I just stopped switching back.
No, but understandable. Yeah.
And I didn't understand what the filmmaker was going for. The tone was so all over the place, and I'm like, are you doing steampunk? Are you doing Western? It was just this weird mashup that made no sense.
All right, well, here's an example then. They kind of tiptoeing around, saying we're using science, but these people are a bit more advanced than they were at the time, and so they have a guy's head in a box, and then put it on something, and of course that entire scene just has Will Smith repeating the words, "That is a man's head," I think 4 times. To various degrees of
For
elongation.
anyone that didn't know that was a man's head?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And so they shine a light through the back of his head, which has out of his eyes the very last image he saw, which, if you saw the beginning of the film, was not the very last image he saw. The very last image he saw would have been some trees. But no, this is the very last image he saw after his head came off, and then someone came along and pulled out the giant metal thing that cut his head off. That was the image you saw, and that is about how accurate they try and be with science in this film. So,
we didn't do this on the other ones, but I'm just a little interested in given our current rating system, how would you rate this film now?
Okay, so removing all nostalgia?
Removing all nostalgia.
Let's go with a -8, I
think.
-8.
So what is the one scene or one moment that you would still think you kind of like, or
not necessarily scenes? I can't,
or aspect, maybe.
I can't fault Will Smith. I mean, he is just being that person.
You can't
he was
ask
at the
Will
time.
Smith to do anything else for that film.
No, I mean,
saying.
I think that the over-the-top aspect of the villain, it is kind of a saving grace. Like, if he'd have been totally straight, it would have been even worse. Like, it just wouldn't have played off. But they did the villain all right, even though he was a clearly over-the-top actor. And there are some moments between the characters where it's like, okay, that's kind of funny. Okay, that works. But yeah, everything else just...
I don't even remember. What was the music? Did they try to do the modern music thing in that? Or was... I don't recall.
I think they never had a point in the film where they were like, this is modern music. Mm-hmm. But I think that, definitely during the credits, they obviously had Will Smith do his song Wild Wild West because he wrote it for the film. And I think they had a couple of, tracks in the background that the characters aren't hearing that were maybe a bit modern, but no, they were relatively okay.
It seems that movie was made for the $5 DVD bin.
Yeah.
Or the $2.99 DVD bin, maybe. Yeah, the one right at the checkout, the grocery store, right there. Right. You can't pass up. It's $2. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and set that on your coffee table and throw it away 3 weeks later.
I will say, $2... That's fine. If
You'd find
$2, I would get that.
That's worth. You have that amount of space in your house to let that disc take up that room.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Any more than that?
No. Yeah, I think I'd pass up. Yeah, I'd go for Knight's Tale maybe if we're going for muddled historical.
Yeah, definitely.
Things with the
with the Joker and the Vision. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, all right, yeah.
All right, what's your last one then, sir?
Oh, wow. I might make a few enemies with this one. I don't know. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, the Kevin Costner vehicle. I loved this movie for years. It came out in 91. So just to offer me the same pardon I offered Paul, that puts me at 9 to 10 years old.
No, but I guess I was 4 when this came out, which might explain why I haven't seen it.
little over your head for 4. Yeah. But also probably, I don't think I probably saw it till I was maybe 12 or so. But still, young, impressionable mind. Still lots of amazing things happening.
Sword fighting, I would imagine.
Yeah. And it has an incredible cast for early 90s. I mean, Kevin Costner, Morgan Freeman, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who was killing it in the late 80s and 90s.
Alan Rickman?
Yes. Christian Slater, who was obviously like the Jack Nicholson of the 90s, you know?
Solid cast.
Yeah, absolutely solid cast. And rewatching it is so painful. There are still some scenes that work, but it is just such... I mean, it is so aware that it's an early 90s film with the Bryan Adams soundtrack. Oh, for one. You know, that... And the big shot, you should probably know this from like maybe even seeing trailers or something. They had this like 8-foot long arrow. That's how they did this like practical shot of like this camera on there, and then like hitting and splitting the other arrow. You know, that was like their big thing, their big cinematic moment. And I mean, we'll say Men in Tights holds up way better.
I was going to say, it sounds like Men in Tights is your preferred.
Yeah, I mean, because Men in Tights spoofs all of the Robin Hood films up to that point, but they mainly focus on this one. With the the Morgan Freeman playing this Muslim character, you know, he's a Jew, and that's his.
I see.
But it's, I don't know. You just have...
What if you rewatch this film, but every single time they say any names, you implant the one from Robin Hood Men in Tights?
That might make it slightly more enjoyable. But, I mean, you alluded to this when we were talking about this. The accents are atrocious. I mean, anyone who's seen Kevin Costner film knows that he does not do accents.
Well, Eddie Izzard did a fantastic parody of it where he's saying, like, there's the Nottingham twang, like, where is the Maid Marian? I am the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, they kind of come up with their own thing. And, I don't know, like, just the relationship with Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman. I mean, I was all about it when, like, the movie starts out and they're held in this dungeon, and he frees Morgan Freeman, and they go off on this amazing adventure, and then you have the whole Robin Hood classical story with the Maid Marian and trying to win her affections. And I just remember like his dad dies in like the beginning, and it's like such a horrifying scene now, and now it's just like so stupid.
Okay, and he's dead.
Doesn't play. Like, I was so emotionally invested. I don't know why I loved this movie. I just can't figure it out. I don't know. I guess I just got to give myself a little bit of a pass. But I mean, it had Alan freaking Rickman in it. And,
was he drunk?
Well, he just talks like this.
I know, but that is what I mean. Right?
Yes. You never know. Yeah.
I think that's actually a ploy by Alan Rickman done perfectly. Mm-hmm. That he sounds drunk so he can get away with drinking on set. Mm-hmm. And so it gets towards the end, it's like, he seems drunk, but that's how he is. So that's fine.
Oh, yeah, and it has Connery in it. He's the king. He shows up at the end as the king who's been away. Yes. The Patrick Stewart too. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The
two
king,
amazing actors doing those.
The king is a bit of a annoying character. I would think everyone like all of this happened just because he goes on holiday. Like he's just gone for a bit. Oh, he's back.
So never take a vacation again because you see what shit goes down in Sherwood Forest, and I mean, everything's just tied up so neatly in this movie, and just, oh my god, the soundtrack is so overwhelmingly cheeseball.
So, quick rating then?
Quick rating on it, I would say 7.
Yeah. So just a bit better than Wild Wild West then.
Just a bit, yeah. It stands alone in its time. It's a time capsule for 1991.
Yeah, okay.
Watch it with that in mind, and you might like it.
Yeah.
But seriously, if you love this movie, go watch it again, and then I will take all of your tweets that how right I am.
Well, on that note then, yeah, do tweet us, message us, whatever, let us know, A, what you think of our thoughts on this, and B, what are your films that, upon revision, you realise just don't hold up. Because this is always fun to hear people going back and being like, wow, what was I thinking? So please do let us know.
I would dare say the Russell Crowe Robin Hood was... and not even seen most of that film. I think that's better.
For me, and this is just probably because of how old I was when I watched and all that, the Disney animated one where they are all animals instead. That is my Robin Hood for me. That's how I learned the story, and I don't feel like I need to see any more. No. Like, short of parody, as in Men in Tights.
Men in Tights, that is my go-to now. Yes, yep, they got it right. Well done, Mel, as always. Yeah, that's all I have to say about stupid old Robin Hood.
All right, well, we hope you enjoyed this little thing. We do hope to try and get these recorded every time we record a main one, so we have something extra to get out to you guys. If you have any ideas for
show
what
suggestions
you want
for this
the next
part,
one
yes.
to be, then do let us know.
We'll do anything, a certain actor or a director, a genre.
Obviously, within reason. If you mention someone and we both go, who? We might not be doing that one.
Yes, but we'll try to keep these short, a little more for the people that have shorter commutes to work and whatnot.
Each one will probably end up being 20 to 25 minutes, I think. So,
yeah. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Film for Thought.
Yes, and in case you didn't know, I've been Paul.
And I'm still Brian.
All right. Bye.
Bye.